Hello everybody, and welcome to the first video on our new channel, in which we will be covering the 2020 United States elections. In this video, I'll be explaining my prediction of the Electoral College map for the general election on September 4th, 60 days from the general election. And I'm going to start by filling in the solid states for each candidate, which would be going to either candidate by 12 points or more. So that includes Washington, Oregon, California, Hawaii, Illinois, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont, Maine's 1st Congressional District, and Washington, D.C. for Joe Biden. For Donald Trump, this includes Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, Alaska, North Dakota, South Dakota, the state of Nebraska, Nebraska's 1st District, Nebraska's 3rd District, Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, South Carolina, Kentucky, Indiana, and West Virginia. The first states I'm going to be characterizing as likely for Joe Biden are Colorado, New Mexico, and Virginia. All of these states are in similar situations where they've all been trending left since 2000, and Joe Biden is leading in the polls in all these states by around 10 to 12 points. And so I think I'm comfortable characterizing all of them as likely Democratic. Another likely Democratic state is Nevada. Nevada has also been trending left, and Biden is ahead in the polls by around 6 points, which could be characterized as a lean state, but the polls in this area of the country, the southwest area of the country, tend to favor Republicans a little bit more, and Joe Biden is ahead in the polls by 6%. So it would not be very surprising to see Joe Biden actually outperform the polls here in Nevada, despite the fact that polls tend to favor Democrats throughout the country. As for likely Republican states, the only likely Republican district actually is Maine's 2nd. Maine's 2nd district had a huge swing for Donald Trump and Republicans in general in 2016, and Trump won it by around 10 points. And I think he's going to win it by less, but I still think he'll keep it by around 7%. As for lean states, I characterize lean states by 2 to 6% win margins. And the first Democratic state I'm going to characterize as lean is Maine at large. Maine had a big swing for Donald Trump and Republicans in 2016 and voted for Hillary Clinton only by around 2% when it voted for Obama by around 10%. So that was a big swing. I don't think it's going to swing that way this year. In fact, I think Biden's going to outperform Hillary Clinton. I think he's going to win the state by around 4%. The next state I'm characterizing as lean for Joe Biden is New Hampshire. New Hampshire got uniquely close in 2016, I think. Hillary Clinton only won it by less than 1%, and that was as close as New Hampshire had been to voting for a Republican since 2000 when George W. Bush won it very narrowly. And I think that was kind of a fluke. I don't think this area up here is trending red very rapidly, and so I think Joe Biden's probably going to outperform Hillary Clinton in New Hampshire and win it by around 4 to 5%. The next state I'm characterizing as lean Democrat is Arizona. Arizona has traditionally been a pretty Republican state, but in the last couple elections, it's been trending more and more towards the Democrats. In 2016, Trump won Arizona by 3.5%, but the polls had him winning it by around 5%. So that just adds on to what I said earlier about how this area down here, the polling favors Republicans. And right now, Joe Biden is leading in the polling in Arizona by around 4%. And so I think he could win Arizona by even more than that. So I think Joe Biden is going to win Arizona by around 4 to 5%. And the fact that Democrats won the Senate race here in 2018, that was the first statewide race they won since the 1990s. And so that just feeds to the idea that Arizona is trending left at a rapid rate. The next state I'm characterizing as lean Democrat is the state of Michigan. Michigan voted for Donald Trump in 2016 by around 0.25%. And right now, Joe Biden is ahead by around 6 points in Michigan. And although the polls underestimated Trump in this area, like around here in 2016, I do think Michigan will still go to Joe Biden by around 3 or 4%. In the state of Minnesota, I think that will also be a lean Democrat state. Biden's up by around 5% in the polls in Minnesota right now. And although it's narrowing, and it could narrow even more by the election, I feel like it'll still go to Joe Biden by around the same margin as Michigan, maybe by a little bit less, but still probably around 4%. As for lean Republican states, the first states I'm going to fill in are Iowa and Ohio. These two states are very similar in the fact that they both had huge shifts towards the Republicans in 2016. And even in the Blue Wave 2018 midterms, they both voted for Republican governors, although Ohio did vote for a Democratic senator. And the polls severely underestimated Trump's victory in these states in 2016. He won Iowa by 9 points and Ohio by 8 points. And so although Trump isn't very far ahead in the polls right now, only by about 1% or 2%, I feel like he could increase his lead and win the states by around 5 or 6%. The last state I'm characterizing as lean for the Republicans is the state of Georgia. Georgia has been trending left over the past couple election cycles, and the governor race in 2018 only went to Republicans by around 2%. And even though that was a Democratic wave year, Republicans did still win it, so I do think Trump is still going to win it by around 3 points, but that is a much narrower victory than 2016. As for tilt Democrat states, the first state I'm putting in is Wisconsin. The state of Wisconsin was a state that nobody really thought Trump was going to win in 2016, but then he did because, again, the polls up here underestimated Trump in 2016. But I don't think they're going to underestimate him quite as much in this election cycle. The polls are narrowing, though, and I think it could narrow a little bit further, but I think Biden's going to win by a little more than 1%. I think the same goes for the state of Pennsylvania. Another state nobody really expected Donald Trump to win in 2016, but he did. He only won it by around 0.7, which is the same margin that he won Wisconsin by. Biden's up in the polls by around 4% right now in Pennsylvania, but the polls have been narrowing, especially over the summer when it went from a Biden plus 8 lead to a Biden plus 4 lead. And so if Trump keeps up his momentum, he could end up winning the state, but right now I think it's going to go to Joe Biden by a little less than 2%. Now for the tilt Republican states. I think Texas is going to go to Donald Trump by a very, very narrow margin, much narrower than we've seen in a very long time. Similar to Arizona and Nevada, this whole area, of course, like I said earlier, overestimated Donald Trump in 2016. Trump did win Texas by around 9 points, but the overall polling averages had him around 11 to 12 points. And so right now, Trump is only up by around 2% in the polls in Texas. And although his lead in the polls are becoming bigger, I do think he's only going to win the state of Texas by around 2%. In Nebraska's 2nd district, I think Trump's going to win it by a tilt margin. There's not much polling data to go off of, but he won it by around this much in 2016, and I think he can manage to keep this one vote again. The last tilt Republican state I'm filling in is North Carolina. North Carolina, the polling did underestimate Trump in 2016, but not by that much. Biden is up in the polls, though, by less than Hillary Clinton was in 2016. He's up by around 2%. And I think it's going to narrow more, and Trump's going to win it very narrowly, but much more narrowly than 2016. As for toss-up states, I don't have enough confidence to call Florida in either direction because Florida generally has favored the incumbents in the election bids of presidents seeking re-election. But Biden is up in the polls right now by around 3 points, and the polling average was pretty much dead on in Florida in 2016. But the polls are narrowing, so it could get even closer. And senior voters are unhappy with Trump because of his handling of coronavirus. And so if I had to characterize it at all, I'd probably characterize it as tilt Democrat. But it could narrow, and Trump could end up taking a lead in Florida. So this is my prediction for the 2020 presidential election. Right now, anyway, I think a lot of these could change. It's still 2 months until the election. And so there's a lot to change, but this is where I think it stands right now. And thank you so much for watching. And if you liked, subscribe and hit the notification bell and leave a like on the video. Thank you.